Hola, hola. Empezamos en, no sé, en lo que tarde. ¿Qué tal estáis? Voy a anunciar y voy a hacer todas las cosas que hacemos siempre. Corazón, cumple un mes que la no me... ¡Qué sueño, tú! Tenía unas ganas de jugar a este juego. Stanley, lo he puesto bien, sí, Stanley. Tenía unas putísimas ganas de jugar a este juego que la verdad no se puede hacer una idea. Vale. Uy, qué sueño. Me ha dado. Como ya he cenado, me ha dado sueñito. También es verdad que voy un poco más cansado porque ya voy viejo. Es el precio de la edad. Vale. No sé si ahí se ve bien. Si está bien. Si no está bien. No tengo ni puta idea. No soy científico. Vamos a quitar esto. Vamos a poner mi maravillosa pantalla en blanco. Voy a quitar el contador en el inicio. Pantalla en negro, venga, pantalla. No, esto es algo vuelvo. Vale. Y me he equivocado, ¿verdad? Y en lugar de poner el cuadro he puesto inicio, ¿verdad? De puta madre. Se me ve refacherito. Bueno, así. ¿Así, así? No creo así. O sea, de puta madre. Vale, Stanley Parable. Ay, que se inicie. No sé ni cuánto vamos a durar. Tenía unas ganas de jugar a este juego. Puf. No. Yo sé que no se me nota porque estoy bostezando y estas cosas. Pero tenía ganas. Vale, quitamos esto. Los subtítulos en español, en españolito. Españolito cagón. No, que no sé por qué el idioma no está en españolito. Vale. A ver. Sí, sí está todo en español. Lo único que no está. Español. Elige un idioma para los subtítulos y esto es pantalla. Español. ¿Jugaste a The Stanley Parable alguna vez? No. Nunca he jugado. Ojalá. Tenía muchísimas ganas. Ajusta para que la computadora sea apenas visible. Si es apenas visible. Así sería. Así. Introduce la hora actual. Las 9:40 y... Las 9:50 de la tarde. No te puedes hacer la configuración de... Vale. Campo de visión, sensibilidad, idioma, vídeo, controles, en borde. Escucha, me imagino que se escuchará bien. Iniciar partida. Estoy muy nervioso.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Vale, vamos a hacer...
And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Vamos a
Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation.
Vamos a hacer caso a lo que dice el
Something was
narrador.
very clearly wrong.
O sea,
Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
a ver, Stanley Parable es un juego sencillo. Y es un juego que rompe mucho la cuarta pared. Es muy corto en realidad. Entonces vamos a hacer caso a lo que dice el narrador. Creo que él sea lo idóneo. Y luego ya vamos a ir jugándolo varias veces, vamos a ir cambiando. Salió de la oficina.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Pues este es conocidísimo.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Hijo de puta. Este logro es mítico, es el 430. Quiero lo logro este juego.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
417. 20 veces.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
437, hijo de puta. Aquí.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415. 25. La 57, la 17. La 15.
Now, back to door number 437.
437. Otra vez. ¿La 437 no es la mía? No puedo saltar. 437.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
417. Ahora sí que lo puedo sentir, pero ¿cómo se puede ser tan hijo de puta?
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Del 19.
Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
416. Gente, no sé qué le ponía.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
No sé qué me encanta, cómo se motiva el narrador.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430! Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking?
¿En qué estabas pensando, hijo de puta? ¿Qué ponía aquí, ahí, hey? Ay, odio los lunes. Yo también. Bueno, no, que es día de pechito. Pechito sagrado.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
Vamos a ir
left.
por la izquierda.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Bueno, vamos a ir.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
¿Me puedo encerrar? ¿Dirá algo si me encierro?
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Vamos a quedarnos. A ver qué le pasa.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet.
Oh my God.
He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Creo que se ponía nervioso el narrador, que te empezaba a gritar de sal de aquí de una puta vez, ¿qué coño haces?
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
¿Por qué? Es que me encanta.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked
Si
past
hubiera
the broom
dicho.
closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Pero de verdad.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Espero que a tus amigos les resulte.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. We got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and we're just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard.
Y colapsaste
Well,
sobre
in a
el
situation like
teclado.
this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your complex human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of
Es
your
un
species.
indicio de la
Please remove
sostenibilidad
their
de la
corpse
especie.
from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Cuando terminen con eso, salgan al pasillo. Hostia, qué risa me ha hecho. ¿Y si no salgo al pasillo? ¿Significa que estoy muerto? Hostia, es que no me lo esperaba, tú, para nada. Hostia, para haberme ido al baño, tú, a cagar. Vamos a salir.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
¿Qué pasa si entro otra vez y me quedo?
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the computer to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly
Demasiado
picky.
exigente.
I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Esto tengo que limpiarlo tú. Con la mierda. Claro, es que esto también se tiene que limpiar tú, que esto es lo de la... Vale, no vamos. A ver qué dice ahora.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Vamos a
office.
subir. Ya le hemos tomado el pelo.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2845 ha dicho. Mierda.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Mierda, no puedo ir. Ya entiendo de la luz, no sé una mierda. Vale. No veo una mierda. No mucho porque puedo jugar con una mano. Y con la otra rascarme los cojones. La idea de un puto juego donde se puede jugar con una mano es genial, ¿eh? Puedes hacer dos cosas a la vez. Cargando.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Vamos a darle caso. Esta vez le hacemos caso.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Vamos a hacer caso a lo que dice la trama y luego empezamos a hacer lo que nos haga de los cojones. Que le den por culo al narrador. Cámaras.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ese es Fear. Nosotros somos el 327.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Ya, sea como muy guapo, ¿no?
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Esto es muy divertido porque te está hablando de lo de las emociones, lo de controlarte, lo de Stanley está sintiendo por él mismo. Estoy haciendo caso a lo que estás diciendo. Yo no... El código lo he sabido porque él lo ha dicho. No estoy ni controlando nada. Me siguen controlando.
The proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Vale, pues off. Me he muerto. Me he muerto.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Si me quedo aquí. Me voy. No venga, no puedo, no dice nada, en serio. Me sorprende que no diga nada.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ya está, chicos, nada. Juego duro, largo. Hemos tenido que hacer muchas cosas. Un agotamiento mental demasiado fuerte. Yo creo que ya es momento de cerrar directo. Muchísimas gracias por haber estado aquí conmigo. Besitos, besitos, chao, chao. Vale. Vamos a la oficina.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Escalera. Por ahí se puede ir.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Pero no vamos por abajo.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Estoy durmiendo.
I am okay.
Vuelvo a la...
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
¿Cómo? Ay, estornudo.
This is the story of a woman named
¿Como Mariela? ¿Ya no soy Stanley?
Mariela woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Vale. Okay. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¿Puedo apagar todos los ordenadores? ¿Quién puedo recibir? Espérate.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
A ver. Si paso esta se cierra.
When Stanley
vale,
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
Vamos a ir
left.
por donde pone escapar.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Oh no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
No. Otra vez, no.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Me encanta. No. Ay, no. Uy. ¿Ha cambiado? Hostia, no. ¿Y por aquí? Vale, espérate. Vale, puedo ir por ahí. Pero no voy a ir. Quiero lo de escape.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
¡Hijo de puta! Quítame la puta música, ya no me
Feeling
camino.
soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Música. No puedo. Tío, no, vale, me puedo tirar. Es que hijo de puta. Hay música relajante.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Ya voy a seguir.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Me quedo quieto. Me voy a quedar aquí. ¿Dirá algo si me quedo parado?
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Diagrama. Este plano muestra la oficina del comienzo del juego. El camino de la oficina este hasta las dos puertas. Parte del juego que se construyó a lo largo del desarrollo se agregaron y se modificaron distintas secciones, pero el diagrama fundamental es casi idéntico a la primera sección. Pasillo. Vale. Las dos puertas. Un lagarto, un lagartillo. ¿Será que muerto? ¿Está vivo? ¿Está muerto? El diseño de la puerta abierta fue la primera pieza concreta del diseño de Stanley Parable. Una vez que se creó esta habitación, el resto del juego surgió como una extensión, una exploración a la contradicción que se planteaba aquí. Claro, de irte... Por depende. Archivadores. Computadoras de oficina. Las puertas. ¿Qué es esto? Mi escritorio. La oficina. Sonido de botones. Selecciona los sonidos que utilizan en el juego cuando oprime un botón. En cada uno se combina un tono sintetizado con el sonido que se produce por un teclado. Créditos. Claro, escapado. La oficina. Sala de mantenimiento. A ver. Hostia, esto como que no me lo esperaba. Mira, arte original, créditos. Guapar del puto juego, el puto museo. Reloj de oficina. Oficina del jefe. ¿Cómo fue diseñado? Qué chulada, ¿no? A ver qué hay por aquí. Final de la libertad. Ese botón no lo había visto. El criterio de la cuenta regresiva. No es el criterio de la versión inicial del fin de la cuenta regresiva. Final de la libertad. El ascensor. Déjame continuar con el museo. Claro, la otra escalera me lleva por aquí, ¿verdad? La oficina. Sala de empleados. Cronómetro del apartamento. En una versión anterior de la selección que conduce al final del apartamento, el cronómetro te daba 15 segundos para atender el teléfono. Si no atendía, llegabas a otro final. Me estoy haciendo spoiler, ¿verdad? Como que no tenía que haber llegado aquí, ¿no? Imposible. Les damos 4 avances principales durante el desarrollo del juego, cada uno de los cuales transmitía un aspecto del espíritu del juego. Este es el primero, publicado en mayo de 2012, en el que según una serie de habitaciones rotas y la voz del narrador que les informa a los espectadores que están reparando una nueva versión de Stanley Parable. Ay, yo estoy flipando, yo esto no me lo esperaba, tú. Hostia, que esto no rompe la cuarta pared. Esto es cagarte en ella. Salida, que me dejes. Que no quiero. A ver, ¿qué para allá? En el museo. Zona de guerra. En las primeras etapas del radio somos un final en el que Stanley terminaba en un campo de batalla luchando contra alienígenas. El juego de acción cobraba conciencia y le declaraba la guerra al narrador. Poco después de empezar a construir nos dimos cuenta de que era demasiado jocoso y literal para el tono del juego. Además, algunas personas interpretaban que nos burlábamos de los amantes de los juegos de disparos y esa no era la intención, hijos de puta, tú. ¡Qué guapada! ¡Hijos de puta! Correos electrónicos al narrador. Después de presentar el segundo avance, le pedimos a la gente que le enviaran preguntas por correo electrónico al narrador. Planeábamos usarlos en otros materiales publicitarios, pero nunca les encontramos el lugar adecuado. Aquí puedes encontrar la selección de correos electrónicos. ¿Cómo? Gracias, hasta luego, Silvia. Sibula, perdón, ¿qué coño le pasa a Sibula? Maravilloso, tío. Mira, y mira que yo me iba a ir a un museo en año nuevo, el 2 o el 3. Me iba a ir al Museo del Prado aquí en Españita. Y no me imaginaba que me lo iba a encontrar ahora en el puto Estadio Paderborn. De la izquierda a la derecha, la oficina de Stanley. La primera se creó en noviembre de 2011. Vale, a ver. Muchísimo más currada, tú. La oficinilla. Pues vámonos. Ya hemos visto el museo. ¡Qué chulada! Bueno. Tenemos que ir por el ascensor.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Cállate.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another?
¿Cuánto necesita el narrador?
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Nah. Sorpréndeme, narrador. Hijo de puta. Hijo de puta.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vamos a ir por el ascensor.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
La única forma de escape y salir.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer
¡Hijo de
there.
puta! ¡Me han bloqueado la puerta! ¡Hijo de puta!
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Porque es un oso matando a un oso pan. No me esperaba la música de los hijos de puta. Tú cuando me sacan. Me niego. Hola. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo se os ha quedado el día? Bien, ¿no? La verdad es que está siendo un buen día. Está siendo interesante. Me voy a quedar aquí. Si tienen la esperanza de que me vaya, están muy equivocados. ¿Está cantando el narrador o yo? ¿Está temblando el ascensor o soy yo? No me voy a quedar aquí hasta que me muera si hace falta. Pum. No, porque estoy haciendo unas cosas, entonces ya me viene bien. Deme un momentillo y termino ahora. Dame un momento. No tardo, chicos. Me está trasladando ya el cerebro la canción. Me está como taladrando demasiado fuerte el cerebro. Y uno diría, ¿por qué mierda no te vas? Me niego. Me niego como muy fuerte. Vamos. Uf.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah.
A ver, te dice algo. Que ya me lo conozco. Vale.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
¿Cómo? Me ha dejado la cancioncita interesante, ¿eh? Me cago en 10, tú.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
¿Es lo mismo?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Me queda aquí, al lado. Si no me ha destrozado suficiente el cerebro.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room.
Vamos a...
A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Un momentillo. Vamos a ver qué dice el puto narrador. Me quiero hacer la vida imposible. Me sorprende mucho que no diga nada de que se ha vuelto a morir. Ya tiene que estar hasta la polla de mí. El pobrecillo. Vale. Pues nada.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
¡Qué mierda!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Muy bien, Stanley. Todos creen que eres muy poderoso.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Stanley, te crees muy poderoso.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
Vamos
left.
a ir.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Vale, me niego. Abajo.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Left.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Me pega un susto de muerte.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down, right, left,
derecha,
down,
izquierda, abajo, izquierda, derecha.
right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Anda.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable.
Ya lo arruinamos
How
todo.
about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
¡Hijo de puta! No, me niego. Quiero volver ahí.
All of his co-workers were
Vete a tomar por
gone.
culo.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an
Entonces
adventure.
tenemos una nueva aventura.
Come, Stanley.
Busca la
Let's find
historia.
the story.
Quiero esa, pero no puedo saltar. Vamos por esta. Ah, fuck. What?
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Hijo de puta. Yo me estaba gustando. Vale. Voy a volver.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse.
What?
I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Vamos por la otra. Ok.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Hermano, ¿dónde me estás llevando?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley?
¿Cómo lo voy a recordar?
Do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good
Como
job.
yo.
Oh, no.
Y
No.
como yo se rinde, tú, Win, has ganado a la toma por culo. Ya no sé qué hacer. Ay, Dios, hijo de puta, no me la esperaba.
I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Me cago en la puta, no, ya está, la hemos liado.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
No es por ahí tampoco, hermano.
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Pero que no es por ahí, hijo de puta. Que no es por ahí tampoco. La puta historia. Bueno, habitaciones nuevas. Cuatro.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there.
Se le está
Well, I'd
viendo la
like to apologize.
pinta.
Not sure where I was going with all that.
Está
You know what?
filosofando demasiado.
I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Se le está viendo. No puede. ¡Hijo de puta!
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Ay, qué puta risa, tú. Puta música. Ay, qué puta risa, tú. Ha merecido la pena. Ha merecido la pena.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Ay, ha merecido muchísimo la pena el puto juego. Ay, qué puta despolle, tú. 10 de 10.
Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart. You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Hijo de puta, el narrador se ha perdido la historia.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination.
No sé, tío, hermano.
Whatever it
Con
might be,
mechas.
Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Con mechas o... Venga.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
No le hagas caso, ya nos irá bien. Eso es la frase mítica. Oigo.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic.
La lógica
Come,
vuelve a
Stanley.
ganar. Hijo
Our
de puta, qué
destiny
lógica. Si te has
awaits.
inventado todo. Vale. Ah.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined?
Está todo decidido.
So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
A que me toca reiniciar. Hijo de puta.
So, okay.
Son mesillas, son mesas. No reinicies.
I guess now we just wait. You know,
Vale.
I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the
Importante es el viaje y no
destination.
el
So
destino.
I
Me cago
hope
en tu
that's where
padre.
we are right now.
Así que
We'll
esperemos
find out,
aquí.
won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
¿Qué mierda? No, pero ¿por qué reinicias, gilipollas? Hijo de puta.
All of his
Cállate.
co-workers were gone.
calles.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply
Que
missed a
te
memo.
calles. Alif, ¿qué has hecho? Alif, ¿qué haces? Se te ha ido la piel. Espérate. Que ya aquí me habéis dejado. Aquí Ada ya me ha dejado el culo roto. A ver, ¿qué ha pasado aquí? Porque Alif no está. Entonces se supone que ya no ha hecho nada. Aunque dice que ha sido Alif. Buenos días. Alif, ¿has tocado el chat o algo? Es que me apareció y le puse que sí a todo. Maravilloso. Pues el chat, resumen, parece que está todo bien, así que no hay que rayarse. Cactus, muchísimas gracias por el follow, tío, te quiero. Sí, ha cambiado algo, pero bueno, no pasa nada. Vale, de momento esto no me interesa. Lo voy a cerrar, ¿vale?
Hello, motherfucker.
Vale, de momento vamos a tirar. Vale, vamos a continuar con la historia. Narrador. Esta no era la historia. Hola, Cactus, tío. Esta no era la puta historia, narrador. La línea. Tú, narrador, ya la hemos liado otra vez. Las dos puertas estarían aquí, hijo de puta. Ya la hemos liado. ¿Para qué me reinicia? Es la primera vez que lo juego. Me estoy descojonando. Ah, la puerta.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Hemos vuelto.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Volvemos para abajo y que el narrador se cague en mi puta madre.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the
Stanley no
office.
quería volver.
He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go...
se repite el diálogo. Si ahora me
From
dice...
here it's, left. Oh, no.
No, vale. Se va a repetir la misma intervención de antes. Vale.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Vale.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Cállate. Aquí.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
Que te joda, narrador.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Que te jodan. ¿En qué estás? Estás de palado. El mejor juego del mundo. Llevo queriendo jugar a este juego años. Y no lo compré.
Now listen carefully, this is important.
Uf.
Stanley walked through the red door.
No quiero. Rojo, tu padre.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red
Por culo.
door.
Metió.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Experiencia un 5.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Vamos a verla, que sí de...
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
De que la calificación competitiva no me ayudó en nada, me da igual.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Me vas a matar, hijo de puta.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger.
Espera.
You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Adivina quién no va a salvar al bebé.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Se va a buscar otro juego. Hijo de puta.
Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
El puto
But it seems
Firewatch.
obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Ay, puta. Por Dios, güey, que es un juegazo el puto Firewatch. Ay, ¿cómo se llamaba la pava de la radio con la que hablabas en el Firewatch? Ay, es que no me acuerdo, tendré la pava al menos para hablar. sonido de la puerta, creo que sí. El puto claro es Pipo. ¿Dónde se voy contigo, Pipo? El puto Firewatch. Hijo de la gran puta. No me lo esperaba. Hostia, no me lo esperaba. De verdad, te lo juro. Oh. Me imaginaba un reinicio de juego, no esto. Oh.
Oh, no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game.
Sí.
Good God, quickly,
Por cierto, hay que jugar. Para hablar por la pava de la radio. Hay que jugar al Firewatch, por cierto, lo tengo que traer.
Knock it off.
Un jugazo.
Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens.
Es que un narrador en un mundo abierto no tiene sentido.
Now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of
Es
here.
que
Let's find another
puto
game.
narrador en mundo
Preferably
abierto no
something
tiene
with
sentido.
walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay.
No puedo correr.
I think this will be just the thing.
¿Portal? Dime por favor.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't
Me
any
recuerda
possibility
al
that you
no
could get
game.
lost
No he jugado al este no es un juego, lo tengo que jugar.
here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally
Pero
impressed.
no eres un auto, eres Rogelio.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports
Ah,
ball.
por cierto, está la versión ultra deluxe, o sea, trae
Oh,
cosas
what
nuevas de la
fun.
última.
We shall
El
run the
tal
bases and
original,
do a
lo digo por
touchdown
Cactus,
together.
Que ya has jugado este
I
juego.
think surely we
No
must.
sé si has jugado esta versión.
Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Ok. Que tiene los sonidos. Hay que ser hijo de puta. Que cada vez corro más rápido.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable...
Me cago en la puta.
What are you doing?
¿Esto no es
Stanley, don't
Portal?
do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Hijo de puta. Rogelio. Me ve la mierda. ¡Ah! Mierda. Tenía razón. Necesitaba esto, no mames. Ay, qué risa, tú. Se ha ido el narrador, tú. Me siento solo. Me siento vacío. ¿Dónde está el narrador? Garry's Mod. Por los pasos, es verdad. Los putos pasos del Garry's Mod. Ay, este juego buenísimo. Sigo sin poder saltar, pero buenísimo. Ay, cómo he podido llorar con el puto Firewatch, tú. Me sorprende mucho que no vaya a hacer referencia a Portal ni a GLaDOS. Me sorprendería mucho. Hostia, es que el puto Firewatch, tú. Oh, es que no me lo esperaba, no me lo podía
I
esperar.
wonder what he found.
¿Qué habrá encontrado?
If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world.
Hijo de puta, el narrador egocéntrico, le
Yes,
llamaban.
back, there's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Estoy en negro. No veo nada. Vale. ¿Qué habrá pasado con Stanley?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped.
Ha cambiado lo que
Surely
dice.
I was
Antes no decía
mistaken.
eso. Antes no daba la frase esa cuando empezaba. Y aquí había monitores encendidos. Uy. Nuevo contenido. Espérate. Espérate, vamos a...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room,
ese es el nuevo
and Stanley
contenido.
knew it perfectly well.
Espérate.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach.
Ya se ha
But
desbloqueado.
eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on
Ay,
his
qué
left.
risa, tú más tonta. No, espérate.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't
Ya,
5
esa broma
years
también me la
ago.
sé. Espera.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
Quiero ir
I
por la
realize
puerta
that
roja,
investing
a
your
ver qué
trust in
pasa.
someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Es que me
There's
engancha una
someone you've
risa
been
cuando me tiro.
neglecting, Stanley. Someone... What? Really?
Te
I was in
matas.
the middle of something. Do you have zero
Me tira una vez, te
consideration for
matas.
others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
¿Qué pasa si me quedo aquí quieto? ¿Tendrá diálogo en esta o solamente será la primera? Ay. Espérate. Vamos por la roja.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Me vas a matar. Me va a matar el hijo de puta.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy.
¿Pero qué se ha fumado?
I actually feel happy.
No. Me aburro. Anda, que te den por culo. Te sentirás feliz tú, yo no.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Perderemos todo esto.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Venga, vale. No nos vamos a suicidar. Vamos a dejar que sea feliz el narrador. Ay, vale. Venga, no, vamos a... Coño, que siempre hay que mirar por la felicidad de los demás también. Dice que no me suicide, que no me suicido. No pasa nada. Uy, qué chulada esa. Ay, lo que
Good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
Solo quédate aquí. Vamos a hacerle caso. Uy, es que me aburro tú, nos tiramos. Ay.
No. What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here.
Lo siento, tío, me aburro. Es un coñazo tu felicidad. Hostia, Que es un
You
coñazo.
heard me before, didn't you? You will die. What
Prefiero
about
morir.
this isn't getting through to you?
Prefiero morir a estar aburrido, tío. Porque si la vida es un coñazo, prefiero la muerte.
No!
¿Eh?
Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment.
No
Now,
puedo correr.
No. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Prefiero la muerte.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room.
Pero
Can you
venga.
do that? Yes. Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about.
Está
I
besando
know
mal
you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Pero tío, es que aquí no hago nada. No hay peligro de morir. ¿Qué gracia tiene la muerte si no me aplasta algo? O si me muero. ¿Qué me voy a quedar aquí pensando? Esto tiene que ser como súper malo si es epiléptico, ¿no? Estaría bien morir, ¿no? Aunque ya es cruel, ¿no? Esto, o sea... Sería ya cruel, ¿no? Salir y decir que vamos a morir. ¿No? O sea, pobre narrador, quizás. Estamos poniendo nuestra felicidad. Técnicamente él no puede elegir, siempre le decimos nosotros. Él está condenado a vernos hacer cosas. Si nos matamos, técnicamente matamos a él también, lo ha dicho. Entonces eso implica que estamos jugando con la vida de otra persona, que tenemos el poder de decidir como si fuésemos un dios. Y que podemos ser un dios benevolente o un dios malo. Claro, le podemos hundir la vida en realidad. Volveremos a ser lo que éramos antes. Quitaríamos la felicidad de una persona. Pero él no se acordaría de que ha sido feliz. Por ende, si él no se acuerda de que ha sido feliz... Ya mátate.
No, perhaps not.
No puedo correr. Te tienes que matar lentamente, hijos de puta. No, quizás no.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game?
Lo siento,
That
tío.
you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Pero es verdad que eso también. Yo tengo que hacer caso de lo que él dice. O sea, es el narrador. ¿Qué coño es eso? Yo quería estar en el mundo de Firewatch. Voy contigo, Pipo.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Mierda. Hola, bro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No. Espera. Este es muy típico, este es muy viejo. Este también me lo sabía. Ya en un punto en el que el narrador te empieza a insultar. Como cuando te encierras en el baño. Es que antes, cuando estaba solo, cuando empezó el juego, me he tirado como 20 minutos en el baño. El narrador ya ha empezado a gritar que el sujeto se había muerto delante, o sea, que yo me había muerto delante del teclado, que viniese alguien. Y he llegado en un punto en el que he estado tanto tiempo y lo he intentado hacer como 3 veces, el encerrarme en el baño, que me ha bloqueado la puerta del baño. Para que no entre. No funciona. Qué raro.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
O a lo
Perhaps
mejor
he
tiene que
wanted to
estar un buen
stop by
rato
the
y ya no
employee
tengo
lounge
paciencia.
first, just
Esa es
to
otra.
admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Me tiro. Antes me habéis dicho, yo ya me había tirado.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
¿Qué ha pasado, Kailos? ¿Por qué estás en el hospital?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah, no metemos en el nuevo contenido.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
¿Qué ha pasado, Kailos, tío?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
Me
ago.
comí un arroz con leche, me siento fatal, me hicieron un lavado
Look,
de
Stanley, I think
estómago,
perhaps we've
me
gotten
sacan
off on the
la
wrong
cola de
foot
tú
here.
puedes sacar la leche.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this
Eso, pero no
time.
saco leche.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Yo nunca he comido arroz con
Please,
leche.
stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Está ya desesperado. A Pistacho, por ejemplo, le encanta el arroz con leche.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith... Oh, no, you can't... Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double
Y yo
check.
tocando, tú. Y yo tocando y no pensaba que
It's
funcionaría.
definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves
toma
to
por
one
culo, te
another.
vamos a meterlo.
Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it.
Nunca
How
comí
have I
arroz
not
con leche.
noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Me niego. Me cago en
Choice.
tu puta madre.
It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself
Coño,
speaking with a person
ha
who
pasado
does
en
not
esa
make
cuenta.
sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue
Luego
talking.
ofrece una excusa
Turn to
para
a partner
finalizar
and
la
practice
conversación.
saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Practica.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Es que, a ver, este juego yo lo llevo queriendo desde que salió. Nunca lo he comprado. Hoy me lo han regalado. Que sabía que este juego me iba a encantar. Este juego está dentro de mis favoritos. ¡Oh, qué risas! El siguiente juego que quiero jugar, me quiero pasar los God of War y el Deluxe no Again. Esto no es un juego. Y el Firewatch. Por la mierda esta. ¡Oh, qué risa!
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Yo me lo quiero comprar. ¿En cuánto está en Steam? Mira que me lo compro en un momento. Está 7 pavazos, 7,78. Me lo compro. Esto lo voy diciendo yo. $70. Pues mañana a lo mejor traemos el There Is No Again.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Estamos rompiendo el espacio de la narrativa. Vamos, que sí me lo voy a comprar. Hijo de puta. Pues vamos a la izquierda. Ya sé dónde podemos joderle otra vez.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Eso se llama cobardía en mi pueblo, hijo de puta. No puedo apagar el juego.
here in this pile of rubbish. With you, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
Eso nunca lo sabremos.
Oh.
Nunca sabremos si existe un mundo más allá de mí. En mi realidad.
If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Qué hacemos? Yo me iría por la derecha. Para dar por culo. Quiero ir en contra de él. Es que la derecha es muy tentadora. ¿Tú crees que me da cerrada la puerta antes de entrar?
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vale, si miro hacia aquí, esta es mi izquierda. Ya no dice nada, hijo de puta.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Vale. Vamos a hacerle caso.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No me deja ni entrar, tú me está bloqueando todas las puertas. Esta no es la del jefe.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Tiburón nocturno 115.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Tiburón nocturno 115. No me diga que
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Tiburón nocturno 115.
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it. But you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect.
the kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you...
¿Stanley?
Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice.
El final
I need you to walk through the door.
de Stanley
Are you
Parable.
listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure
Es
your
lo que
choice
quiero
is
hacer yo ahora,
correct. That is
reiniciar
the
el juego y
best
quedarme aquí
choice.
quieto.
That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Me puedo empezar de cero. Ah, vale.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Y luego nos vamos a meter por ahí.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Cuánto dan las recompensas del canal? Es que no me acuerdo. No me acuerdo de cuánto era. Y no dice nada. Soy gilipollas. No dice nada, tío. A mí no me... Nada, que me he roto una cosa. No hable el narrador.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, que cuánto eran las recompensas del canal.
Here's the door, just go.
Entra ya. Que no me acuerdo las recompensas que había puesto ni era para canjearlas. A ver. Tú, aunque han cambiado muchas cosas. ¿What? No, quito. Desactivar el modo escudo. Me toca los cojones. No, pero luego tengo publicidad 1500 y cerrar directo 100.000. Hostia. Pues esto es el que más... Es el que más acerca a los 100.000 al cerrar directo.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this pass...
No, esto es lo mismo de antes. Voy a quitarlo, esto ya lo he hecho yo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Vale, pues
Stanley
vamos a
decided to
entrar...
go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
Vamos a
simply
coger el
missed a
teléfono,
memo.
que es lo único que me falta.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room,
teléfono
and
y ya
Stanley
está.
knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley.
Vamos a cogerla a ver qué nos dice. Y nos metemos en el nuevo contenido. Mi casa.
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
Ay, qué
Hold on,
bonita
sweetie.
tiene mi
Sorry to keep you
esposa, ¿no?
waiting. I'm just pulling the
Enamorado.
bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Hijo de puta,
I'm trying to
¿dónde
make a
vas,
point
güey?
here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Buen día, empleado. Oprime la tecla L. Ni me suda los cojones. No voy a hacerlo. No, me niego. ¿Pasará algo si me niego? Ah.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a
Hijo de
reminder
puta,
of the
estoy haciendo yo lo que
inconsequential
lo que
nature
dicen a
of his
Stanley.
existence. Look at him
Idéntico.
there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Hijo de puta, tú. ¿Qué pasa si no lo hago ahora? Da igual las teclas que oprimo. Nada.
But in his
Hay que
mind,
hacerlo.
in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two
Está contando la
open doors
historia.
and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Ha hecho para cenar.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Llame para decirle que la
But there
amo.
is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has.
Me está
Nothing
poniendo
has
el escritorio.
changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Ruge para irte a dormir.
And I'm trying to tell him this. that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Solo puedo ser un espectador.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Y cuestiones de la
I
vida.
suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
No he pulsado ningún botón esta vez. Hijo de puta.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again. Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
¿Qué es esto? ¿A dónde me llevan?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Gimme the content, Stanley. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
¿Qué puedo saltar? El círculo de salto. Es nuevo contenido. Ahora hay un círculo donde puedo saltar. Por Dios. Me he quedado sin salto.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Gracias por Google.
That's
Disfruta
it?
de nuevo contenido.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Hijo de puta, tú. Ah, empezar el nuevo contenido. ¿Te imaginas que solo sea esto? Será muy divertido. Uy.
Psst! Stanley!
¿Me han
Come
secuestrado?
over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué ha pasado?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
El original Stanley Parable, hijo de puta. El primer dólar que ganaron. Hijo de puta, adoro estos juegos. El de videojuegos, el lanzamiento, la muerte.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Y un ascensor vacío. Qué puto menú del juego. La primera decisión. Stanley, Madeleine.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Hijo de puta, tú. No puedo pasar. No puedo pasar, tú.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh, no. Oh, God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Hijos de puta. Reseña buena.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining.
No estoy a favor.
Funny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Hijo de puta, tú. ¿Cómo le ha dolido? Otra mala.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. To be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did.
No, eso pensaba.
Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
Half-Life, hermano.
I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down.
Al final va a hacer la
Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story, and the choices, or what have you, and... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Una semana.
Or 2 weeks. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything.
La planta está muerta. Narrador. Oh. Narrador. Bueno. Alarma de incendio. Pues nada. A continuar a viajar.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said...
Loco, ¿cómo salgo de este bucle temporal que estoy?
The end is never the end, 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 is
Cada vez hay más goteras ahí, ¿no? Mi coche, la mano, ya te lo he dicho yo. Si es que lo veo como acaba pasando. Cuando hay mucha gotera, se acaba filtrando el agua y se viene para abajo. La pregunta es, ¿cuánto tiempo ha pasado? ¿Dónde está el pobre narrador? Se ha pasado un poco con el omitirme a mí. O sea, en el hecho, que luego iba a ser muy importante. Hostia. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Estoy bajo tierra? A continuar dando la botón. Lo que me sorprende... ¿Qué mierda ha sido eso? Su puta madre. ¿Botón? ¿No? Su puta madre. ¿Pero qué juego es este? El Journey ahora. El puto juego. Eso sí. Precioso. Es que te cagas. Vaya la motor para hacer. Igual le da el botón para hacer una captura de pantallazo. Y está precioso. F10. Hijos de puta.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
de nuevo.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
A ver, otra vez en lo de los saltos. No creo, porque ha sido como mucho tiempo. Aunque la llevaba a empezar de cero. Lo hace todo.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Stanley Parable 2, Stanley Parable 2, Stanley Parable 2.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Hijo de puta. Siempre supiste lo que querías.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
El círculo de saltos, ya no tengo saltos.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle?
Sí.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Supongo que quedará bien como decoración. Hay que ser hijo de puta. Hay que ser muy hijo de puta. ¿Qué habrá por ahí arriba? View new ese archive. A ver este. Agujero infinito. Estamos trabajando.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Escuche, le prometo que la realidad. Puto Stanley Parable 2. Puto Stanley Parable 2, joder. Me sorprende lo de agujero infinito.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Aquí, hermano. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Cómo se te ha ido la pinza esta vez? ¡Ay, su puta madre! Tiempo y espacio. Me cago en su puta madre. ¿Qué ha creado? Ha creado un puto agujero de gusano.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Me estoy meando, creo que voy a aprovechar.
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean.
No, yo no he
Why
dicho
don't
nada,
we just
solo
put
tú.
all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly
hacerlo.
infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very Oh, for heaven... You see? I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Ya no es ni un agujero.
Is the, teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity.
Hijo de puta, y se me ha ido. Claro, durante todo este tiempo el que él estaba congelado ha hecho todo esto. Ayúdame, hijo de puta. Te maldigo, hijo de la gran mil puta. Pues nada. El agujero está cayendo. ¿Qué mierda es esto? cambiar tu perspectiva.
Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland.
Hijos de
But
puta.
don't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Me voy a dormir otra vez. Vale. Ok.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Vamos con esa. Es la que me llamó antes la atención. Vamos a ver el nuevo contenido.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Pues me llevo el cubo.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
De otros jugadores que estén jugando. No sé para qué quiero saber eso.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim, watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Voy a pulsar otra vez el botón de Jim.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush, that was you! The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
¿Otra vez?
Oh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Ciao.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Ya, pues nos van a olvidar quién eres. Hay que ser hijo de la gran puta. ¿Vale? Ya hemos visto mil cosas del nuevo Stardew Parable 2.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Venga. Enséñamelo. No pasa nada. No sé. Yo sigo llevando el cubo. Coleccionables, eso no lo veo. Logro gratis. As mundial de la configuración. ¿Cómo que as mundial de la configuración? Vale. Me encanta lo del merchandising. O sea, me parece una idea tan grande. Y este tío está jodidamente tan loco. Demasiado, de verdad. ¿Puedes encontrarlo?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life. God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Hijos de puta. De verdad, tú qué persona es este tío. Esto me flipa, no dirá, espero que no diga nada. No vale, solamente merchandising. Porque, joder, si no... Hostia, salida, ¿no? Ya, yo creo que... Círculo ya está, Dismap ya está. Está... Epílogo, coleccionable... Sí. Ya hemos visto todo. Podemos proceder a alargarnos. Porque joder, puto Stardew Parable 2.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to?
Sí.
Ready to move on now?
Estoy listo. Es que me cago en mi puta vida, tú. ¿Qué hace este tío? ¿Qué es esto?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, Are you ready? Here it is. I give you
Había leído
the Stanley Parable 2.
Solo ha pegado todo junto.
Well, I mean, there's potential here,
Hello?
right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
A ver. Y te habla encima los sonidos de verdad. Y encima la configuración de verdad. Es que puedo salir del puto juego. The endings, never the endings, never the endings, never the endings, never the endings.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-eating, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were, "Oh, please, are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, no, no." Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
¿Cómo? ¿Dónde está el balde?
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ay, Dios.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Vale, vamos a ver cómo la historia con
Still
el
no one
balde.
was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
A ver qué dice aquí.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Hay que ser hijo de puta. Ay, Dios, hijo de puta.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley things. Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Stanlecitos. Inglés suena mejor que en español, ya te lo voy diciendo yo. Stanlecitos. De verdad. Ay, Dios de mi puta vida.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
¿Dónde estarán el agujero?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Voy a hacerlo simplemente porque...
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Va bastante mal rápido.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Las minis.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Se les va mucho la pinza a esta gente. Se les va demasiado, te lo puto juro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Voy a pasar del balde. Ya empezamos. Ya empezamos con las cosas raras.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ya no está la puerta de nuevo contenido. Su puta madre. Ya no me dejan ni entrar tampoco aquí. Quiero ver.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Here's the door, just go.
Aquí el siguiente objetivo es encontrar todas las putas figuras. ¿A qué ese es el puto siguiente objetivo de este maravilloso, increíble juego? Pero quiero mirar cómo es ahora.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Quiero verlo simplemente.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Vale. Okay.
No.
Okay.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
Toma por culo. Wow. Toma por culo.
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
No dice nada.
No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
¿Qué es un bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
Juego?
Okay, let's begin.
¿En serio?
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
¿Cómo? ¿Cómo?
Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
¿Es esto?
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Me resulta súper raro de leer balde en lugar de cubo. ¿Qué cojones?
Item 4.
Sí.
Is this a bucket? What? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket?
Sí.
Correct. This is a bucket.
¿Cómo?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
No.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Es y no es un bucket al mismo tiempo.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Por que sale Stanley. Me descojono. Estoy meando. Tengo que ir a mear. No.
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game
Hijo de
entirely.
puta.
Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone?
Es
Why
un
did everything
bucket.
disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right
Siento
now.
mucho
It's
más
delightful to
tranquilo.
get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
¿Te imaginas? Todo es un puto cubo. Voy a mear. Me estoy meando muchísimo. La secuela está en pausa, que es el hijo de puta. Ahora vengo tú. No sé. Ay, estoy cansado ya, tú. Pues sí, no sé lo que hay que hacer.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed him. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Vamos a ir para abajo. A ver qué encontramos. Si no cojo el balde, es el estadio para la
Coming to a
bolsa.
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Una vez aquí, entré en un bucle.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
No cambia, ¿no?
He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
¿Qué mierda tú le pasa a este tío?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Vale, vamos a ir al por el
All
balde.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
El final. Vamos a ir donde el jefe, pero esta vez vamos a tirar. Claro, es que
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked
podría ser
upstairs to the
escalera o
boss's
apagar. Vamos
office.
a apagarlo. con el balde a ver qué ocurre.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Joder, más lógica, que me encanta. Me encanta eso, es una explicación más lógica. Un puto balde te guíe. Un momento, estoy hablando por teléfono.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Un momento, ando hablando por teléfono.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Lo que no sé es cómo lo de la detonación.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machine...
Pagando. Que esta es la otra diferencia y luego nos tenemos que ir a la derecha.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Ya, tú, morir en la oscuridad, pero con el balde. Lo importante. Es lo importante, con el puto balde, tú. Vale. Otro camino que ya sabemos más o menos cómo termina.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled.
Vamos a ir,
He'd
pero vamos
never
a
be
ir a por
alone
donde
again,
pone
not
escape.
truly alone, not with the bucket around.
Luego tenemos que tirar a la
Stanley
derecha.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest
Por abajo
and
podemos tirar.
entered the door on his left.
O sea, por donde salía esa de ahí hacia abajo. En la zona de mantenimiento, creo que se llama. Y vemos por ahí que nos depara.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked
Porque ya sabemos
upstairs to the
todo,
boss's
prácticamente.
office.
Vale, por aquí no hay nada. Más que nada porque aquí, tío, ya sabemos en sí cómo funcionan. Porque aquí en el ascensor no creo que ocurra nada. Podemos probar. La última vez estuve aquí un ratazo y... no va a ocurrir nada. La última vez me tiré así 10 minutazos, creo. Mejor continuar y no perder
Stepping
tiempo.
into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Tengo sueño. Eso me está empezando a cansar lo que viene siendo la vida.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Vamos para abajo. El problema es que esto es lo mismo, pero lo único que cambia son un poco los dedos con el
As the
balde.
machine whirred into
Aunque lo
motion
de la
and
prueba
Stanley
es
and the
a ver
bucket
si-
inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Vale.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are
En cambio, el
radiant in their
museo.
own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
El balde. El balde. Te da la bienvenida a la gran posición. Te encuentras entre el principio del conocimiento. Al igual que un balde, la mente humana suele estar vacía como una caverna, pero gracias a la exposición que tienes enfrente, la mente se llena, se enriquece, se salta. El conocimiento del balde y su historia es el único conocimiento que tenemos en verdad. Llevarás contigo al mundo lo que aprenderás aquí. Aceptarás con mente abierta la información de esta muestra que podría desafiar tu modo de ver el universo. Temerás tu vida y la de tus seres queridos como consecuencia de esta exposición. Por la vista gorda y seguirás viviendo como hasta ahora entre la oscuridad y la ignorancia.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
El balde. 25 baldes, tú. Qué guapa la imagen. Fotografía de 25 baldes. El fotógrafo estuvo en shock catatónico durante varias semanas como consecuencia de la euforia que le provocó exponerse a tantos baldes al mismo tiempo. Puto genios, tío. Balde infernal. En el medievo, este objeto resulta tan fascinante que desató guerras entre numerosas naciones. Los baldes de Altamira. Los baldes rupestres. Los baldes son anteriores a la humanidad. Los baldes determinamos que la humanidad es digna de su tesoro.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
El balde colgando. Esta obra simboliza la relación necesaria entre el balde y la humanidad, por clara que parezca nuestra comprensión del balde y algo más siempre. De verdad, yo pensaba que se daba
There is something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Se les va mucho la pinza, tú. Se les va un huevo la pinza con los baldes.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Vamos a ver porque nos faltan dos técnicamente, bueno, tres si contamos la de quitar el teléfono.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Vamos, vamos. Nos vamos con el balde.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
No voy a renunciar al balde. No de renunciar al balde. Adicto a la droga y a la prostituta.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Toma por culo, mira cómo te mira. Es que ibas a tirar el balde y te mira con esos ojitos, con ese vacío, con esa cara de que no le tires, tío, que no le puedes tirar, que es el balde.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
El destructor de balde. Es que no me puedes pedir que destruya el balde, tío. O sea, ¿qué estás diciendo? Vale, pues nos faltan solamente las del teléfono.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped... Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Para que los dos mueran en el abrazo del otro. Es diferente. Hey,
a good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here,
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Me lo apunto para jugarlo. Luego lo miro. Cuando termine este directo, como tengo que mirarlo, tengo que mirar cosas.
Now pick up the phone. Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look. What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
¿Qué mierda es esto?
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
¿Qué le pasa a estas cintas? ¿Qué le pasa a este juego cuando se le va mucho la pinza?
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Con un mejor timing de comedia.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Se le está yendo la pinta. Se les está yendo mucho la pinta con el balde. Tú nunca me imaginaba que un cubo tendría tanta importancia. O sea, yo flipando que da, güey.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No, what's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
Otra vez, no me jodas.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Derecha otra vez.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Vale, ya me corta.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Con la de izquierda.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
Me toca.
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame. Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar.
Tocando la guitarra, tocando los huevos.
No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of
Tengo que ver
again.
más experiencias
videos.
de este juego. Yo a lo mejor lo seguiré jugando fuera de cámara. O no sé si haré otro directo, pero de momento se termina por lo que tengo mucho sueño. No sé cuando aparezca diferente.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all? The embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his
Todo el
left.
rato lo mismo, ¿no? Ya. Luego que lo voy dejando porque tengo muchísimo sueño. Tengo que encontrar las figuras esas que todavía no han aparecido.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
No, este así. Sí, vale. Lo voy a dejar por aquí porque me estoy muriendo de sueño. Nenes, os veo mañana. Os veo mañana que vamos a jugar a There is no game. Esto no es un juego. Y os veo mañana, ¿vale? Entonces pasamos una mañana, una tarde, una noche. Os quiero mucho, mucho, mucho. Y besitos, besitos. Chao, chao. Bye, bye.